There was an awful article last week in the New Statesman from some young guy who effectively was saying, well, once you're receiving your pension, you're a drain on society. And if you look at the countries where they've introduced this, the majority, it's just gone down a slippery slope. Certainly Canada, you can now be offered assisted dying if you're homeless. They wouldn't, in all those sessions in the House of Commons, I went to some of them, they wouldn't accept amendments for saying you couldn't be depressed. Even diabetes. Well, of course, if you stopped your insulin, you're within less than 6 months of death. You might die in a week or two. But that's not to say it's obviously a treatable condition. There wasn't a requirement for you to even be dying of an untreatable condition. And there was no requirement for you to see a palliative care consultant for advice. And not even a cooling off period like you'd get if you were buying double glazing. You just go in there. You've been given a terminal diagnosis. You're not surprisingly going to be temporarily at least very depressed by that, and the opportunity to rush off and make a hasty decision seems to be another risk. So I just think all in all is something that has to be left to the individual to organise for themselves if that's what they want to do, but I don't think the state should be involved.
And obviously you were very active during lockdown, opposing lockdowns, opposing kind of the vaccine mandates. Do you think that set a precedent for kind of diabolical legislation like assisted suicide coming in?
Well, I think we've certainly got a government that wants more control, and I think they saw that during COVID they got a lot more control. But I think if you look at, for example, the Scottish inquiry and the deaths in care homes with midazolam and morphine, the Scottish inquiry has been quite open, very unlike, I think, the UK inquiry. And there are families saying they never had given a permission for a DNA do not resuscitate order. And to be honest, do not resuscitate is about what happens if you have cardiac arrest. But what it turned into was no treatment. You can't even go to hospital because the hospitals won't take you if you've got a DNR. So yes, I think it's led to a blunting of our whole attitude to life and death, probably.
Absolutely. And just in terms of public consultation, do you think the public was consulted properly regarding assisted suicide? Do you think there was essentially informed consent to explain what assisted suicide is? And in my opinion, I think there should have been a referendum on it. What's your position on that?
Yeah, I don't think there's been good consultation on it. I think it's been sold very much as to do with giving somebody the choice to end their life with dignity and pain-free. Like that, and probably one of the biggest areas that people would worry about is getting some terminal neurological disease, motor neuron disease, but that you might take 3-4 years of being profoundly disabled and unable to commit suicide because you're physically too disabled to do it, but you wouldn't be eligible. But on the other hand, if you've got cancer, you might get some treatment. And actually, Esther Ranson's a good example. She was pushing for this, and then she's putting on Facebook, oh, I'm so pleased I've got this new treatment, I'm doing really well. But if this law had been in place, she would have had assisted suicide within months of her diagnosis before she'd actually been offered a new treatment.
100%.